Hey, this is Bryce Johnson from Expedition Bigfoot. You're listening to the Paranomaly Zone.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen.
A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
We never get ahead of ourselves, do we, Mike?
I think that's impossible for us.
Really, you do. I mean, we have never, ever promoted something either on the Twit/X, Facebook, what have you, social media in general. We've never promoted something podcast related and then not lived up to it. Right?
Have we? We really? Okay. Really? Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'm laying this out in front of you here.
Yes.
I want your
all out.
I want your true feelings, your true opinion. I mean,
Okay.
we have been spot on. We've never made plans that have not come to fruition. It never happens, ever.
Okay.
Are you with me?
I'm with you.
You get where I'm going on here.
No.
We don't. Was that a no or a?
Yeah, I have no idea yet. Keep going.
Well, I think I laid it out there clear enough. It's
There's probably like half of our listeners, the two, probably are feeling the same way I do.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
is he talking about? Anyway.
Our two listeners out there are scratching their heads because they're saying to themselves, well, Patrick, you're just a bold-faced liar right now, my friend. I mean, come on, man. It's probably more often than not my fault. But damn. Maybe I should get that tattooed on my body somewhere. You know, don't get too far ahead of yourself, young man, or middle-aged man, or old man.
Approaching some age.
Still feeling youthful, so that's good. But you know, I just want to throw that out there because I do feel shame. I do feel guilty. I have done that so often, Mike. If you haven't figured it out by now, lady and gentlemen who are listening, I was being very facetious, and I apologize.
I know that.
I apologize wholeheartedly. I get excited, Mike. Like when we get, as rare as an occurrence as it is, when we become focused on a topic, usually like within 2 or 3 minutes, I'm posting it online. I'm promoting the thing. I'm saying, stay tuned, everybody, or, lady and gentlemen, and a new episode is coming soon, and yada, 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 only to fail miserably for various reasons. Not always my own fault, but...
Are you referring to the twit that you posted about the next episode that we're doing?
Well, yeah, sort of. This one, I wasn't very explicit in the last twit about what we were planning on doing. But shockingly, Mike and I were both very busy today and the days leading up to today, and we couldn't figure out a goddamn topic. And we have one, don't worry. We have some good stuff lined up for you boy and girl who are listening. Mike's chuckling under his breath, but no, it'll be good. And I just want to wholeheartedly apologize for misleading anyone throughout the years. It's never intended, but it has happened. So this has turned into I feel like I should be laying down on a couch somewhere, and
Well, the reply that I put on that one twit was a GIF of, or the GIF, whatever you call it. I don't know.
GIF.
One's peanut butter and one's a video. But anyway, I put a GIF of Jack Black going into this really yoga-like pose and saying, "I'm waiting."
Okay. I understand. And so Mike and I both apologize. Well, I apologize on behalf of you, even though you don't have to apologize. But as the podcasting duo that we are, everything is a mutual agreement, and we are in this together. So apologies, everybody. But Mike, it is good to see you post surgery. The bionic man himself is sitting right in front of. Well, not right in front of me physically, but I'm looking at him on my laptop screen. You have a new shoulder, and don't worry, everybody, we're not going to talk about Mike's new shoulder, but dang.
No.
How was it? How was the anesthesia? How was the pain meds? How were
Well,
the
they
pain
gave me a couple of pills first when I was laying there, and just going to relax you a little bit.
Sure.
And it did, because I had to wait for a while for the operating room. And then when I got in the operating room, this nice, attractive young nurse came over to me with this thing and put it on my face and said, "Just start breathing deeply." And boy, that's the last thing I remember.
That's awesome. Well, I shouldn't say that's awesome, but
yes, I woke up with 6 inches of staples in my shoulder, bruising all over my arm and bruising all over my chest. But it's really weird, because as bruised as my chest is, there's 3 inches out, or no, not that much, 2 inches out maybe from my right nipple that just did not bruise. So it's like I have this clear skin around my nipple, and then the rest is just tons of colors. And I thought that was weird.
Mike's nipples lack capillaries. The surface around them, yeah. Blood stops flowing when it nears Mike's nipples. Yeah. Oh, I never thought I'd say that line ever, but hey, you brought it up. So thank you for sharing that very intimate detail about your lack of color surrounding your nipple.
But while we're on this subject, I do want to thank everybody.
God. Oh, I thought you were going to say while we're on the subject of my nipples.
No, I want to thank everybody for the well wishes and everything that anybody has said or for me and my support, and I appreciate it greatly. And I have no pain. It's like I got this surgery, and I finished my oxy and stuff, but it doesn't hurt unless I move it a wrong way. It's like, and I know they had to saw through the bone, pound the thing in there, the new piece, but it no pain.
Didn't they discover that you actually had a broken shoulder as well?
Well, yeah, a couple of months ago, I'm sure I told the story, about the Pyrenees got out of the yard, and I was holding on to her leash.
Mike face planted, and the Pyrenees proceeded to drag him.
She took off, and my shoulder, and I knew my bicep dripped because it was all puddled up in a big ball up closer to my shoulder, and it hurt so bad. And when my doctor was done, he went out to Mary to tell her how things were going, and he said, "Has Mike fallen recently or anything?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, he's had 2 falls, but he didn't really get hurt or anything." But then he goes, "Because his socket and ball are broken."
God dang it, man!
So I went for 2 months with this broken shoulder that I didn't know was broken, but I figured, well, they're going to be fixing it, so I'll just deal with it. And that's it.
Pain tolerance, man. Mike.
So
a pain tolerance champion for sure. Goodness.
Yes. My chi.
Your chi. Absolutely.
Was flowing.
But I'm glad you're going to have a functioning arm. All limbs are going to be fully functional. Well, maybe not fully.
They figure maybe 80%, which I am fine with as long as there's no pain. They said that you won't be able to reach up on the shelf and get something really high, but
well, you know what? That's a minor sacrifice.
I'll take it.
I'm glad everything went well. Thank you again to everybody who sent Mike the positive get well and support messages. It's not taken lightly, in all sincerity. It was really cool to hear from that.
It makes me love them all even more.
It is good to see you, Mike. We were going to discuss some Bigfoot caught on camera today as kind of a segue into our Patreon topic, which is going to immediately follow this episode. Yeah, if you'd like to support the podcast, no better way than to give our Patreon page a shot. You can sign up for a month for as little as $1, and you get access to all of our Patreon exclusive episodes. It's really cool. We're having a good time with it. Good content, really good content. No BS right there. No obligations. Check it out for a month for $1. You don't like it? See you later.
Scrap it. Scrap it.
Absolutely.
Push that delete button or whatever you do.
So
brush it away with a dirty broom. I don't know.
There is a fascinating piece of again, allegedly Bigfoot caught on camera. I think it's like a 2012, 2013 footage that was recorded in Oregon, or Oregon, however you want to pronounce it. It is, I love it. It's so unique and so different. And the reason I love it so much, besides what is allegedly captured, is the, to me, sincere reactions that you hear from the people who are filming it and those around them. A lot of times, to me, that is a giveaway as to it either being a hoax or being true. You know, just
and very, very softly in the background of that video, I think it was an older gentleman, and you could hear him say, "I think I peed myself." And that, you know, they aren't going to say that for if there's nothing going on. So
yeah, it's, you know, to me, the reactions themselves are enough to make it an intriguing piece of footage. But we are going to talk about that for the Patreon episode. The link of that footage is available on our Patreon page as well. So if you check it out, we encourage you to watch that link first and then hear us gab about it. It's going to be a good conversation. I'm looking forward to it. So we were going to have this entire episode focused on alleged Bigfoot footage. But damn, that's a massive rabbit hole to dive into at the last minute. There's so much stuff out there, Mike. So much good stuff out there.
Oh, absolutely.
That we wanted to do it justice, and we just wouldn't have done it tonight.
And it's like new stuff coming all the time.
I know. Someday, Mike, there's going to be something that is undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
That proof is out there. But we did a backtrack again, and we decided to, last minute, why not? Let's pull our usual Paranormally Zone decision-making escapades and change our mind.
I had nothing to do with it.
Sorry, I decided to change the topic at the last moment. We're talking about monster encounters. This is going to be pretty darn fun. Going to be sharing some stories here from one of our favorite authors out there. Unfortunately, the late Linda Godfrey. But man, this book, American Monsters, filled with terrific cases. Terrifically interesting cases. Are they all cryptid related? Who knows? But we're going to share some of them, talk about them, and
we'll break them down and see what happens.
Yeah, see what the hell happens. But in case you are new to the program, believe it or not, we do get one or two, or a quarter of one, or maybe a half a listener once in a while.
We get 2 and we lose 4.
Right, exactly. So it's a constant struggle. It's a constant struggle. But this is the Paranormally Zone, your weekly dose of all things, hell, you guessed it, paranormal, strange, and mysterious. My name is Patrick Koffenberg, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host with the ghosts, the muscle man himself. No bruises nor pale nipples can hold him back. Mike Carbno, good to see you, my friend. Are you ready to talk some monster encounters?
I am.
Thank you. Wow. Way to sell it. That was great.
Short and simple, little sweet.
Yeah, a little sweet. I do want to share a little bit of audio quickly, Mike, before we move on. And hopefully this doesn't screw too much stuff up as far as the flow of the show goes. But this is my new favorite soundbite of my co-host with the ghost.
I have nothing.
Yeah. I think that it's apropos. It's terrific. Mike, do you have any ideas for tonight's topic?
I have nothing.
Anything that you would like to include for our Ghost Gab segment?
I have nothing.
Okay.
But I do.
Well, you do exactly. When you and your lovely wife are laying in bed at night and she's ready to go and she's about ready to hop your bones, Mike looks at her and says, "Sorry, freezes up.
I got nothing. There, I threw it in for you.
You threw it up for me. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yes, you missed the button.
I know I did it. It just didn't play, and the thing is, it stopped running. So that
Because it didn't want to be part of your lame joke.
okay. You know, I'm going to edit that
Anyway.
a little bit. I'm going to edit that a little bit. So when Mike's laying in bed with his lovely wife, Mary, and she's looking at him, she's rip-roaring, ready to go. She looks at Mike, and he says,
I have nothing.
okay, that's all I wanted to do. I'm done.
Well, and
I'm done.
Actually, I'm sleeping in a recliner now
That's true.
after my surgery, but that's okay.
And
I still have nothing.
One thing that absolutely terrified Mike when we were at the Sally house, no goddamn ghosts could scare Mike nearly as much as when he heard me whisper lovingly into his ear, I'm wearing my paranormal panties. Yeah, so I just want to throw that one out there again. Okay, enough of the soundboard. Enough with the soundboard.
Yeah,
Mike said, like, we need to bring that back today. So I did a little bit.
we do. And
And it was well worth it, right? And it was well worth the effort. So
probably
let's see here.
best.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. Mike,
Anyway,
we did mention earlier that you do have perhaps something to share for our Ghost Gab segment. Let's dive into
Yeah,
it right
was it-
now.
right now.
Yeah, hell yeah, right now. Why not?
Okay, well, it was a great day today. Absolutely gorgeous outside, which I'm sure it was out your way as well.
Oh, it was,
In the
Awesome.
deep, dark woods of Minnesota.
it was absolutely gorgeous. It was perfect today.
So Mary and I and one of my stepsons, well, he wanted to take Mary, his mother, out for some lunch or whatever for Mother's Day. So we got a couple of pizzas and some Mountain Dew, and not Talamardew, but Mountain Dew.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
I don't know what the hell
We,
that meant, but whatever.
Well, haven't you ever had a pint of Talamardew? But you wouldn't have it in a pint. But anyway,
No.
back to the to the story. This happened today. It was absolutely fabulous. So after we were done with that, we dropped off Mary's son, and Mary had this strong feeling that she wanted to go to her mom and dad's grave, and her brother's grave is in the same graveyard.
Okay, that was cool.
So, and as the story I've told before, I have actually feel like I've been in touch with her brother that was actually stillborn and in a very bad way. And but I was really getting a strong feeling of him while we were driving to the graveyard cemetery. It's a cemetery, and it was just a lot running through my head about it, and I was trying to focus on it. And after going to see her mom and dad, their graves, we went over to David's, is his name, and I was getting these such strong feelings and these visions and of him being so excited that his sister was there. I don't think very much of the family ever goes there, and but I got this vision that he was so happy and smiling with this, with his mouth open, big smiling, and just looked exactly like he did when I've seen him before. And just stayed excited. Mary was getting emotional.
Now, you need to clarify just for our listeners, because I know what you were talking about when you said he looked just like he looked when you had seen him before. Clarify a little bit what you mean by that.
Well, when I don't know if you want to call it in touch with him or getting vibes from him or whatever, he was stillborn, but the way I saw him was a young boy, maybe 12-ish, something like that, with Down syndrome. And, I don't know why he would show it as that, from the other side or whatever, but this is what I saw. And
you saw
beautiful.
the same. You saw the same today.
Yeah, just a beautiful child, and I saw the same thing today, and it was just a whole thing of him being so excited and smiling and giggling, kind of just that laugh, and I knew that was meant for Mary, that she was there, And then we said, well, we better go. And we're saying our goodbyes and everything. And as we were leaving, this vision it snapped into my head that I saw him just jump up in the air and clap once with that big, huge smile. Like it's okay, you can go. And he's so excited. And I tell you, it was a big deal.
Wow.
Big deal for me.
That's pretty cool. And you said, Mary was feeling pretty emotional, you said?
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
And that stuff, some people who are listening, if they're kind of on the cynical side, they might be saying, well, what the hell? Why is it, how in the hell is that remotely paranormal? Why would you include that in a segment called the Ghost Gab? Well, because Mike and I know you for sure, 100%, Mike, that is truthfully, wholeheartedly, 195% a paranormal experience.
I believe it. Yes.
I mean, we have been talking about this for years. Longtime listeners know. Maybe we're down to one longtime listener. Maybe there are none. But
no, we have some.
They did know that Mike has had a history of paranormal experiences, and quite often times where you feel like you are connecting with those who have passed over.
And it's getting better and stronger. It really is, and I'm loving it.
And it's really unique for you because a lot of times it seems to come out of nowhere for you. It's not like you were experiencing this when you were like meditating, or am I wrong on that?
Well, it can happen either way. If I focus and concentrate, and I'm trying to, open up to something, and then I let it go from there, because I don't want like my thoughts to dirty it up or anything. I want everything just to come the way it's going to come to me. So I concentrate on that, and it can happen. Or like today, like Dave was, it's like he was there,
He was just there, and he was like speaking to you or through you. How would you say? Would you say to you or through you?
You froze up, and I missed.
Because you had froze up as well. But I was asking, like, David, would you say that when these things happen to you, are they speaking to you or kind of or through you on behalf of? Like, God, how do I want to rephrase that? I don't want to say on behalf of Mary, but so they can somehow reach and contact Mary. Not they, but David can contact Mary. He's talking through you to get to her.
But Mary said she, as I was describing it or telling her what I was seeing, it's like that vision was, coming up with her as well. She could see.
Right. Yeah. I'm kind of with you on that. What's up with that face? All of a sudden, Mike just gave me the big googly eyes.
Again, so I was like, I missed that.
No, I know.
What I was saying is that. I have nothing.
Well, that was, I don't know if we should describe that as a successful time traveling excursion since it lasted almost 24 hours. We are back. Are you intact, Mike? After time traveling, you're not missing any parts and you're ready to go. Describe to the listeners how you're feeling, to our boy and girl listeners out there.
I got nothing.
Hey, good one.
No, and that wasn't even the soundbite.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm good. I survived well. I slept well in the recliner on my couch.
Nice.
I'm ready to go.
I'm happy for you. I wanted to embarrass you for a second.
Okay.
And I'm kidding.
It's how I can't handle that.
No, it's not embarrassing, but I thought it was kind of funny when we were texting yesterday.
Okay.
Back and forth. The way that you had replied to me was kind of humorous. It was an accident, I'm sure. But before we were abruptly cut off by our own intermission music, I was going to share your text that you'd sent me.
Oh, yeah.
Because you said, we're on our way home now, Had to stop at the cemetery to see Mary's mom, dad, and brother. And then you said her brother was definitely with me. And he was definitely with me. I don't know. Did you really want to make that point? But her brother was definitely with me, and he was definitely with me. So.
I guess I needed to reiterate something. Or actually, today I needed to have a reason to use the word reiterate.
That's very true. Or delineate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, Mike, knock on wood, everything seems to be running. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to stop.
Nope.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth, you young punk bastard. I'm talking to myself, by the way. So I will say that even though I was extremely frustrated last night when the intermission music.
Oh, you were ready to throw in the whole bag of towels on everything.
The moment I sent that text, I was like, no, that sounds way more dramatic than it needed to be. But in case listeners are wondering, or one or two listeners, I believe I sent Mike a text after everything failed miserably yet again. I said, maybe we just aren't meant for this podcast thing.
And then then all of a sudden, as soon as I read that, I heard a whole lot of little violins playing.
Oh, sure. I know you did. But it was just out of frustration. I apologize.
Yeah, but I understand because it is very frustrating because we start recording and bang. Start recording and bang.
Yep.
Start recording and bang.
Yeah, and not a cool bang either. Like the
no,
the bad bang. So, but out of the frustration, I ended up feeling fairly positive, and I got to spend 3 hours with my daughters playing a very competitive game of Yahtzee. So that was
and cool. Last night I did send you 3 inspirational gifts.
Yes, you did, and
the last one that I sent, I said, I read it. The part on top where it said sending you positive vibes or something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't see the part of and love and light at the bottom.
Oh.
I didn't see that before I sent it. Otherwise, I thought, maybe I better not send that to him. But hey, it all worked out because I meant it. I meant it all.
Yep, and it's all good. And in case anyone's wondering, yes, it takes us hours to play one game of Yahtzee because we complete the full sheet. It was 3 of us, like I said, and a lot of time spent was bantering and laughing and having a good time. So,
well, that's got to be part of the whole deal.
Absolutely. So we were sharing a lot of dad jokes back and forth, and so it was good.
Probably not mostly dad jokes, probably just Patrick jokes.
Well, yeah, that counts too. That counts. Well, Mike, should we just dive into some monster encounters here?
Yes.
Let's do it. And again, I have to repeat myself. I try my best not to make this story time with Patrick.
Well,
I know that possibly, potentially is annoying to some listeners' sensitive ears. So I try to break it up a little bit. And Mike, you are more than welcome to jump in at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to give these stories their due. Don't want to just ramble on needlessly.
Incessantly.
Again, for reference, a great book here, American Monsters by Linda Godfrey. We recommend it. It's a great little like encyclopedia type thing of monster encounters. Alleged monster encounters. So I was thinking, Mike, I could read off some of these possibilities and maybe you could choose which ones piqued your interest.
Okay. Which one could be a potentially exciting read by Patrick?
The book is broken down into parts. Go figure. Part 1, Monsters by Air. Part 2, Monsters by Sea. Part 3, Monsters by Land. And those are further broken down into short little chapters. We have our feathered friends, such as the Chilean Roch. Big claws. Big claws across the country. We have chapter 2, which is focused solely on Bat Squatch. We've talked about Bat Squatch before.
Not to be confused with Bat Boy.
Not to be confused with the very real Bat Boy. Mm-hmm. I thought maybe Batmen of Pennsylvania. that kind of piqued my interest. That's a possibility. Then we have Mothmania, alleged sightings of, yes, you guessed it, Mothman-esque creatures. Even going so far as potential dinosaur sightings in the air. We're talking pterosaurs here, pterodactyls and the like. Chupacabras, Mike. Aquatic aliens. The Florida Gator Man. I mean, I'm just going on and on and on.
Florida Gator Man. Well, it's just a real person with a bad case of eczema.
That's and sunburn or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We have freakish felines. We have reptoids, unholy hybrids. Man, we're loaded. Any of this stuff kind of jumping out to you, Mike? Anything?
Well, because I forgot everyone that you mentioned before the last one, I think unholy hybrid sounds awesome.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding there, but
Are you really? Are you really?
I am kidding. Yes.
Okay. Just I know you've mentioned that your memory is not what it used to be.
We don't want to talk about
No,
that.
No, it's fine. It's all good. Well, unholy hybrids includes a snake-headed dog, Mike. Porcine people. Is it porcine or porcine or porcine?
Porcine, I believe.
Porcine. We have the
Piggy people.
We have the Connecticut frog folk. I like that one.
Connecticut frog folk.
Can I read the Connecticut frog folk?
I would love to hear that.
All right, let's start it off. Half an hour into the show, finally, our first monster encounter involves the Connecticut frog folk. I really struggle saying that state name, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike turned the lights down low even. He's like ready.
I turned my lava lamp on, and it was too bright on my...
Oh.
It was right next to my face.
Like I said, I'll make this well, I'll make this. How do I want to word this? I failed already. I'll just make this how I make it. Connecticut frog folk. Now, Linda goes on to write, she says, amphibious humanoids, Mike, tend to stand out in a crowd, don't you think?
But yeah.
Oh, once they
especially
actually...
when they start licking each other's back,
Ew.
licking the back of people's necks and stuff with that long tongue.
Yuck. That would be a slight giveaway, wouldn't you think?
Mm.
Yeah, they stand out in the crowd, and that's probably why the frog people of Fairfield County, Connecticut, prefer to leave their secluded country compound only at night.
So they have a compound.
Apparently they have a compound. Well, she referred to it as a compound.
Okay.
Now, again, Linda S. Godfrey unfortunately passed away, I believe, 2 years ago, but she was at the forefront. She was one of the better-known authors of such topics, all things cryptid, all things mysterious.
Would have been neat to have her on the show.
Yeah, she's, years and years of experience and research. She goes on to say, I doubt that they are of any relation to the famous Loveland frogman, a frog-like humanoid seen around, you guessed it, Loveland, Ohio in the 1970s. Weird USA authors Mark Moran and Mark Schurman, they're quoted in this Fairfield County Weekly article from 1998. The quote goes, "For years, rumors of an inbred family of large-eyed freaks
They made a movie about that, didn't they?
have been circulating through the town, even seeping into the gossip of neighboring burgs. It is said that this inbred family of large-eyed freaks, this mysterious family lives together on a decrepit compound not far from Bethel's center, and that members of this clan have been observed milling about the place, spilling from open doors and windows and performing various bizarre, unspecified acts." Now, that's pretty
That's
vague.
I'd like to go into if we had more information.
Kind of vague. I guess let your imagination run wild on that one.
Fly eating and stuff like that. And
Various bizarre, unspecified acts. It is said that they even venture into town from time to time, and we here for the occasional shopping trip.
I love this. Can I have a bag of nails at the?
For my unspecified various acts.
I got an unspecified thing. I got a nail to the side of my house.
Now again, this let's keep going here before we
Yes.
mock this anymore. We're not mocking it. We're
No. Do
can't
you
help
have any day-old bread?
I love how you say no and then you immediately go back into that.
Anyway, I'm done. Go ahead.
Now, unlike the Marshfield, Wisconsin pig people, however,
Swine shooting.
Okay, deep breath.
Okay. Oh, let's just go.
Now, this is Linda again. Unlike the Marshfield, Wisconsin pig people, however, Connecticut's froggy folk seem to have plenty of eyewitnesses, including the authors Moran and Schurman. They had found at least...
Especially like they come into town to shop.
Yeah, no kidding. How can they not, be popular?
They need more new sundries and goods. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I got to shut my mouth. Go ahead.
Okay. Moran and Schurman found at least one person who had been to their, quote, decrepit compound and described them in that same article quoted above from the Weird U.S. as having, quote, eyeballs on the sides of their heads, crusty lips, and white bullocks.
What?
White bullocks.
Bullocks?
Bullocks. Bollocks.
Isn't that what the English use for the word balls?
You could be onto something, Mike.
No. Okay, go ahead.
Sunken noses with nostrils that were just thin slits. Got to be careful with that word slit. They also...
This isn't a Patreon.
I know this isn't. They also had large heads, small bodies, and hair that tended to appear only in patches, all of which enhanced their amphibious look.
Right above their bullocks.
Right above their bullocks. Patchy hair.
Okay.
I hope people are still listening.
I know. I apologize.
The eyewitnesses went so far as to call one of them a monster, but the general local consensus seems to be that the frog people's grotesque features are caused by years of inbreeding. No one knows that for sure, however. The inbreeding explanation also fails to account for another, more widespread type of manimal, the goat man. So, I mean, what are we talking here, Mike, about these allegedly, patchy, froggy, potentially smelly frog folk who live in a rundown, decrepit compound? Are we just talking about generations of inbred humans? Or something else entirely?
Well, they could make a movie about this and, kind of patterned after another very popular movie. It could be The Pawns Have Eyes. What? He didn't know how to react to that.
I didn't. I honestly did not have one clue how to react to that. But that's okay.
But anyway, I think, you hear about these inbred things and monsters and that, which make great movies like, The Hills Have Eyes. Awesome movie if you can handle watching it.
That's a key point. Key part of enjoying the movie is being able to handle it.
Yeah, it is awesome. But anyway, if these things have any legitimacy to them at all, the way they're described, I mean, that would go way beyond, years of inbreeding. I don't think, I don't know. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but are they something that has been, that has another species of something that has come up from inside the depths of the earth to live on the top side?
Oh God, that's terrifying to think of it that way.
Are they aliens that have crash landed decades ago or eons or centuries ago that have been able to exist?
Well, how about this, Mike? How about this?
This is a bit. What's that?
I said, how about this possibility? What you just suggested, pop this idea into my feeble little mind. You said, like, perhaps surviving aliens surviving a crash landing, perhaps, and the only way they could survive was maybe hybrid breeding with humans.
Absolutely. Maybe they were more frog-like until they started doing the hybrid. And they had to, because they had to possibly try to assimilate into
good use of
into the population as best they could, because they knew that they were stuck and they weren't going anywhere.
Would the offspring of alien / frog folk, would it be like a tadpole or more human-like? What do you think?
Oh boy.
A patchy tadpole?
Well, when we're conceived and we're still, we at the beginning we kind of look like a little tadpole, little,
That's very true.
little kidney bean type thing. I don't know, with a long tail, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know, man. It's a possibility for sure. Absolutely possibility. Do we buy
Great
into
story,
that?
great story though. Fun story that was.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you're new to the show, to the paranormal, good God, if you are new to the Paranormally Zone, you will find out quickly that we like to have a good time with our episodes.
I don't know if our listeners would agree with that, but
Good point again.
I'd like to get a good impression from our listeners that would like to chime in on that. Just what is the humor like and how, on our show, and how does it affect them in any positive or negative way?
They wake up screaming in a cold sweat.
I had that nightmare again. Damn it!
The word patchy is stuck in my brain. Okay.
Patchy bollocks. Anyway,
I kind of like this one right here. It's another short little story. This is in the chapter From Hairy Giants to Sasquatch. So this is a very large segment of the book dedicated to Sasquatch type creatures. This one is referred to as the MATLOG. One word, MATLOG. Not Matlock, not a hairy Andy Griffith walking out there.
No. I bet he had a hairy chest though.
Think so?
Yeah, he was kind of manly, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, dealing with Barney Fife all the time, you had to have something.
He had no hair on his chest, or either probably on his buttocks.
Very patchy. Very patchy.
Yes. That's the last time I'm going to use the word bullocks. So,
and I'll try not to say patchy anymore either.
Okay.
So the MATLOG, Mike, consider an early account of some larger unknown primates, this time in the Pacific Northwest, as told to Spanish explorers in 1792 by inhabitants of what is present-day Oregon and Washington. Hey, there's Oregon again. We're good segue into the Patreon footage that we're going to be discussing shortly.
Yes.
Well, not the Patreon footage, but the link that's on Patreon of awesome Bigfoot alleged.
You are correct, sir.
I am correct. Bilingual author Scott Corrales translated the original Spanish journal notation found in a document called Noticias de Nootka, or News from Nootka, written by a naturalist commissioned to study and record the people, flora, and fauna of the coastal regions. Okay, so these guys know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Smart gentlemen. The naturalist never personally witnessed this creature that the indigenous people called the MATLOG, but noticed that just speaking of it filled local inhabitants with, quote, unspeakable dread. It was certainly very real to them. Now, let's stop for a second, Mike.
Okay.
Just uttering the name of a mysterious creature, how that itself just fills the local inhabitants with this dread, that kind of adds a little weight to the authenticity, doesn't it? Maybe?
Well, sure, that would imply that they have had some personal frightening experiences.
Yeah, legit encounters, you know. And of course, this is back in 1792, and just like it does today, you know, rumors spread, even more so back then. Exaggerated tales, of course, become even more exaggerated.
Embellished over the centuries.
But we're not saying that they weren't filled with this dread or fear for no reason. Obviously,
exactly,
it's legit dread. Now, the MATLOG was described of giant size, with black bristly fur, and the head like a human's, only larger. That description sounds consistent with today's usual notion of Bigfoot, as does the writer's additional mention of very long arms. The passage also details, however, this is where it gets interesting. The passage also details long, curved claws, fangs larger than those of a bear, and screams loud enough to knock people off of their feet.
Wow.
The modern Bigfoot is usually said to have blunt nails, teeth more suited to an omnivore's diet, and screams that might, burst your eardrums, but don't physically blast someone to the ground.
except for the cute little whoop whoop whoops that they do.
Oh, in between the wood knocks, yes. Whoop, 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 whoop,
Whoop whoop whoop.
Is that a
Anyway, go ahead.
I think a Bigfoot's trying to chime in here. What the hell? So that's interesting, though. Again, is an exaggerated tale. That is actually something that has been mentioned by Bigfoot researchers, Mike, about how Bigfoot can actually emit a sound that is not necessarily heard by like humans, but certain animals are like frozen, literally physically frozen by the vibrations that this Bigfoot is sending out. I mean, this is a true thing that happens in the animal kingdom, and it's theorized that Bigfoot is able to do this.
Might be some kind of either a defense mechanism or a type of, well, I don't think they need a defense mechanism, or something to during their hunting or something like that.
Oh yeah,
it's something so deep in base that comes out of their the deepest part. You just like maybe we would feel like a little rumble.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's absolutely what I've read and heard. It again. I'm repeating myself, but it quite literally freezes their potential prey. And it just holds them in place because they cannot move after this.
Like the moss on a tree, it's going nowhere.
Like them
have that little snack after their grubs and worms.
Okay. He takes a giant gulp after that.
I got a big bugger full of English toffee crappuccino, and I love it.
Oh, nice.
Anyway.
Now, Linda goes on. She says, those features sound a bit over the top, but that does not mean that the creature does not exist. We agree 100%. Mythic elements in indigenous narrative are very familiar to contemporary researchers who might take these fearsome fangs, claws, and howls as examples of the normal exaggeration that occurs in retelling of a story. So, again, she has to throw that out there, too. Exaggerations or legit. She goes on to say, we know today, centuries after that Spanish naturalist's scientific journey, that the Pacific Northwest carries a reputation as one of the most active areas on Earth for reports of Sasquatch sightings and activities. And this implies a healthy population. So why not? I mean, we're talking about the same area. Why not the Pacific Northwest? Why not the indigenous people? Why is it not true that they had these encounters since the beginning of who knows when, right? I wasn't going to say time because that's not true, but... Right.
Well, and like us, like you and I and so many people that, a lot of us live a relatively sheltered life where, like I live in southeastern North Dakota, just very rural, and you live, in a potentially a Bigfoot area.
Potentially, yeah. Just drive a little bit further north, maybe. Yeah.
Yep. We want to talk about that later. But anyway,
yes.
Or maybe on the next episode.
Or the Patreon.
The Patreon. But anyway,
I just had the microphone. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. That's
the only way.
Random big clump of me.
Go on. The only way that we can experience any of this stuff is by hearing the stories or reading the. Or listening to the, eyewitness, air quote, eyewitnesses. We aren't out there. Who knows what's out there that we, aren't even in any place that we could experience these things. So we have to kind of just take it as it comes. Take the information and go from there. Any of these things can be real. As bizarre as they might sound. I mean, we don't know. I mean, I've been to different places with the Air Force and that, spent time in the Philippines where they have their own fantastic stories and legends and things. But, we're in a place where we can't really experience these things firsthand. So we kind of have to either trust in what we hear or read through or whatever, or listen from the experts and kind of take whatever from there and,
make our own decisions, basically.
Yeah. What do we believe? So,
well, again, I mean, it's, we've said it so much, it's become a cliche, but how much of that Pacific Northwest is unexplored still. You know what I mean? So, but you punched your mute button, Mike. I can't hear you. Mike's muted.
Sorry.
No, you're back.
Yeah, but anyway,
it's always
my oldest
interesting.
daughter.
It's always interesting looking at Mike, thinking that he's still talking. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop for a second. You're muted.
But anyway, my oldest daughter, she lives in the Pacific Northwest in Washington, and I asked my son-in-law the last time that I was out there about Bigfoot, and if grew up there his entire life, probably heard all the stories. I asked him do you believe anything like that? And right away, it's like he almost cut me off and said, nope.
Oh, really? Oh.
It's all fake. It's not real. And it's like, well, there goes my conversation with my son-in-law, but it just depends on, a lot of things. If you're
Mike, you have to remember that according to a lot of cynics, I'm not saying your son-in-law is one of these. He obviously isn't.
Right.
But a lot of cynics / skeptics truly believe that all of these thousands upon thousands of nationwide Bigfoot casts have been faked by the same person.
Yeah.
Who's just traveling around with the same set of plaster footprints, and he's just causing one heck of a ruckus.
Yeah, they go into each of the most remote places.
Yeah, maybe he's hired an assistant or two, but it's just one or two people. I want to go on with this one, Mike. This is really interesting. Bigfoot body art, it goes on to say. This is a truly unique sighting which occurred back in Michigan in 1977. East of Ludington, the same region of the huge Manistee National Forest. Manistee? Which, of course, according to Linda Godfrey, this is prime Dogman territory as well. So,
I'm sure.
Let's take it with that here. Now, she says that the man who sent her this report is middle-aged now, but he was in his late 20s at the time. He says the sighting occurred as he and his brother were riding Honda trail bikes on state land as they took a break from helping their father put up a house addition. This alleged sighting occurred around noon on a clear, sunny, and warm day. Viewing conditions were excellent even in the woods. The man had stopped on the trail to wipe dust off his face when he had the feeling of being watched. Another very common addition to the tales of Bigfoot sights. So many people say they...
Extremely common.
Yeah, there's like a couple of them. The strong odor,
yeah,
and the sense of being watched.
Yeah.
Just that eerie sense. And then about 7 feet off of the ground, he saw a face looking at him from behind a tree. Didn't see the body yet. He saw a face. He says they made eye contact and that the creature ran away on its thick hind legs. He says it was entirely covered with very black fur, muscular, arms longer than humans, and had no dog-like features at all. He added that he didn't see any features that indicated whether it was a male or female, but there was an extremely strange thing about it. The witness's brother had ridden on ahead and was unaware of the creature, but the witness chased the beast for a short way on his trail bike. Now, would you do that, Mike? Would you if you thought you saw a Bigfoot or whatever the hell it was, slow down there, Harry, I'm coming after you. Would that be you? You're muted again, Mike. You muted yourself again.
Dang it. Something's wrong.
Just don't move, apparently. Just you're not allowed to fidget at all, apparently.
Yeah, no, I'm good. But no, I would be the type to kind of more slowly go at it.
Okay. Very slowly.
Hiding behind a tree each way. And hopefully he's moving in the opposite direction.
Yes. Mike actually is moving so slow that he's technically going backwards. That's how slow Mike is moving. Now, his brother keeping a distance about 20 yards and watching it jump over fallen trees as it ran away from him. He said he saw very clearly that each of the creature's big ankles he described as the size of tree stumps.
Ankles.
Yeah. Whoa, boy. Damn, hairy tree stumps. He says that each of the creature's big tree stump size ankles was encircled by a band of dark red colored fur that stood in obvious contrast to the black fur on the rest of its body. Now, Linda supposes that it could be a mutant fur variation like some Bigfoot have been described with. Some has been described with reddish hair, with tints of black, and vice versa, and so on and so forth.
So basically, possibly a type of calico Bigfoot.
Kinda, yeah. But she also goes on, she says, the second possibility that she was considering was something like bloody rope burn. But she says it's hard to imagine a scenario that would entail a Sasquatch having both of its ankles bound that tightly by anything. So she kind of
Unless it
dismisses
was by
that.
a bigger Bigfoot.
By a bigger, ornery Bigfoot, yes.
Yes.
Now, if this Bigfoot had been caught in some sort of man-made trap, however, maybe that would explain its eagerness to run away.
Sure.
But then she goes on and suggests paint? Who would paint a Bigfoot's ankles? Native Americans once made extensive use of red ochre for ceremonial purposes. Could some First Nation people have been conducting shape-shifting rituals near Ludington in 1977? Or might a Bigfoot simply adorn itself with something like red clay? What do you think about that? I like the idea of, I think we both agree that Bigfoot is an intelligent being, right?
I agree.
Why not indulge in some sort of body art of any form for any number of reasons? You know, maybe it's somehow, I'm not saying it's making paint, but like they said, maybe this clay type material, they're kind of designing themselves. Is it a mark?
Yeah. Sure.
Is it a mark of superiority? What is it? What do you think about that idea?
Well, and it could be their skin tone underneath could be actually different, like some other animals are. Like on the shoulder part, there could be like a heart with the word "mom" in the middle of it. You just never know.
The giant anchor on its arm.
A swimming mermaid.
Hey, my dad had his tattoos he got in the Navy included a big old mermaid on his arm.
Yep, my dad had what was it, a woman with a sword or something?
Oh,
but
yeah.
boy, the older he got, it was just like one big blob of blue or greenish blue.
Yep, you have to, for all you young folk listening, I know it's difficult to do so, but deeply consider the position that you put your future tattoos for, because you don't know what you're going to look like 30 or 40 years down the road.
Yeah.
It's just something to consider.
But I do remember, when I was old enough to remember, he was in the Korean War, and I believe that's where he got these tattoos. I remember when they were as crisp and clean as you could.
Oh, yeah.
You could imagine, after the Korean War, after I was born, that wasn't that many years. So, it was interesting to watch them fade.
Yeah. I do like the idea, though, of, Sasquatch body art. I just think that's kind of a neat possibility. So I'm going to stick with that as the explanation for the redness around the ankles for this one.
Or is it, or is the redness around the ankles a natural thing and ceremonial things that indigenous people have done, and if they have like drawings or whatever of this type of a beast with the red around it, maybe that's where they got that from, because that's what they actually saw on some of the individual creatures, which individually it might mean something in their growth, their maturity, their hierarchy, who knows what.
I was just going to say hierarchy, exactly. It's like a symbol of, status, maybe, who knows?
Right. They get to a certain age and they, like a silverback gorilla, something like to that effect.
Another great example, man. You're on fire.
Well, I'm kicking it.
You're on fire. That new shoulder is,
today.
The blood flow to the brain is no longer inhibited by that crusty old shoulder. So, you're good.
And my English toffee cappuccino helps quite a bit.
I'm sure it does. Well, this one I just chose randomly. I just like to name Flying Heads and Owl People.
Well, I love this.
Flying Heads. Now, scary owl-like creatures in Native American legend suggest a long history of encounters between humans and these unknown flyers. These occurrences would naturally have been considered important enough to keep tribal memories of the creatures alive in sacred lore. She goes on to say the legends include stories of both giant man-like owls and even scarier of weird owl and human heads that could fly without bodies attached to them.
I don't like that. But
Now, according to folklorist William Elsie Connolly, the human-like heads originally sat on the shoulders of cave-dwelling giants who harassed and threatened to wipe out the Wyandot people of what are now the Eastern American states. Eventually, the Wyandot were able to cut off the giants' heads, which tenaciously reanimated into fearsome flying things whose bloody hair shone like lightning as it streamed around their big noggins. That's a word. She wrote that, around their big noggins.
so are these like heads or whatever that have like wings and they fly?
That's how I'm interpreted it. She also says here that the heads like to lurk. I'm just getting terrified thinking about floating heads. The heads like to lurk in mist and fog, emerging furtively to steal children and eat livestock, ruin crops, and cause sickness. It is said that the only way to counter these flying, fearsome heads is with fire and lightning. Good luck harnessing lightning. We're not all Doc Browns out there, but you have to hope that
we don't have Thor's hammer neither.
don't. No, we don't.
But I got questions about this though.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Same here.
Their heads. Okay.
Yes.
And I like I asked before, do they have wings on these heads? Like owl wings? Is that what we're talking about?
That's how I am in understanding.
So,
this, yes.
and then they're supposed to be stealing children
With their teeth. With their teeth.
Okay, that's because I was going to say they have no opposable thumbs anywhere.
No limbs, as far as we know, aside from the potential wings. Yes.
So they must be very strong to be able to lift anything with their teeth. Or I was thinking of like about a dozen of these things or so, kind of flying around and corralling.
Right. With their
chomping their teeth as they go.
Just flashing, shimmering, blazingly bright teeth.
Yeah, like landing on livestock and just laying there on their side, chewing on their back of their neck. Slow down! I'm gnawing on you.
What are you talking about now, Pa? It's them damn flying heads again, Ma. They going after my livestock.
Hey, Harold, get the gun.
Take aim. Good luck, son.
You might as well get the net, too. They boil up nice in the pot.
They must have a massive pot, because these heads are supposedly gigantic, because they belong to former giants. Remember that.
Exactly.
Or I should say, formerly belonged to giants. Whew. She goes on to say, some researchers have surmised that the legend of autonomous heads was caused by misperceptions of large owls that happened to be flying straight at an observer as their bodies trailed, hidden from the sight behind their round, flat faces.
Yeah, and I would faint and fall down, but between the time of standing and hitting the ground, my pants would be full of shat. Completely, that quick, boom. I can handle a lot of things. I can go down an extremely dark tunnel in an asylum, but boy, if a flying head came,
I couldn't handle a flying head. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No way. Especially if it was like screeching. Well, if it was an owl, it'd be terrifying.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
We've all heard screech owls. A lot of alleged Bigfoot audio has been, credited to owls, actually. Some of that's terrifying sounding. You can imagine seeing this giant head, because its wings and everything are directly behind it. It's like torpedoing towards you.
It reminds me of an old Three Stooges episode that I saw. where they were in a haunted mansion, and there was a skull that a parrot got into the inside of it, and the wings came out of the side.
Oh man!
and it started flying around, and of course, scared the hell out of Mo, Larry, and Curly, and all that. And it was, I saw it when I was a little kid, which at that time was extremely old still, but it freaked me out. But then I watch it as an adult, and it's funnier than hell.
Oh, of course. Mike, would you like to hear about some regional reptilians?
Yes, please, sir.
This is a topic that's kind of close to our passion. Well, all this is we're passionate about. Some alleged cases. There's that word again. I need to set myself up with a buzzer, a shocker somehow. Every time I say alleged, it's like, okay, I need to train myself to stop saying that.
Before the word comes out, he fully comes out, just zap.
Zap. But we are fascinated by the idea of human alien hybrids, maybe potentially, reptilian human hybrids, what have you. This is creepy as hell, but it's fascinating to think about the possibility.
Well, reptilians aren't they known to be sexually deviant towards women when they find?
God! Every time I think of reptilian, though, I get terrified and creeped out because I think of Louis Gossett Jr.'s character in Enemy Mine.
Oh, I love that movie, but he was a good guy, though.
I hated that movie because
really,
I know this will sound lame. I couldn't stand the fact that Louis Gossett Jr.'s character got pregnant.
Yes.
Mind you, I was a little kid and I was utterly confused because I was I thought for the whole movie he was a man, and then all of a sudden he's birthing a baby alien or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, and watching it come out and split out of his stomach.
No.
And it was one of the Quaid brothers, I think.
It was Dennis Quaid.
Quaid, yes.
Oh man. No, that's enough for nightmares for me.
I haven't seen that movie in many, many years. I gotta look that up. I love that movie.
Okay, you go ahead. You watch it on my behalf. Now, reptoids, Mike, aren't confined to southern swampy areas. Several of Linda's books mention a very few odd sightings in Wisconsin. One was reported to Linda by a woman from La Crosse who wrote in to say that in 1993, her ex-husband and his 18-year-old son were searching for their lost dog near the riverbank on the north side of town when, she says, they encountered something entirely non-canine, not their dog. As they continued to search the slightly wooded area, their flashlights suddenly lit up a mud-colored creature standing next to a tree. She described the thing as taller than a man, had scales, and slitted yellow eyes. She said it stood and looked right at them until they ran away. He told me it was one of the weirdest things he had ever seen, and his son was actually traumatized. Now, their reaction on both parts and their reluctance to talk about it told Linda that there's something to this story. And again, the human reactions, a huge part of the potential authenticity of any encounter.
Exactly. Yep.
She goes on to say that they did find their dog, but she, Linda, couldn't help but wonder if the mud-colored creatures may also have been on the dog's trail. Ooh. La Crosse is located at the confluence of the Mississippi and Black Rivers and happens to also be the site of a decades-long string of unexplained drownings of young men. That's creepy as hell. Very sad.
Specifically young men.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Black River can be followed far to the northeast of La Crosse. Only a year or two after the La Crosse sighting, a bipedal lizard man was spotted in separate incidents by a Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources game warden. And then a truck filled with state highway employees. So, I mean, not just random, Joe and Schmo living out in the woods.
Joe and Cho.
The game warden reported this sighting.
Right.
State highway employees. In both cases, the reptoid suddenly flicked a pair of bat-like wings attached to its back and soared away. Ooh.
Ever seen the movie Gargoyle?
No, I have not.
Gargoyles. Oh, it was a awesome. I think it was a '70s movie, and it was like the gargoyles that are on top of buildings and things like that.
Oh, sure.
But they were real, and they were very reptoid looking and gargoyle like, and they had the wings. And awesome movie. Great Cornell Wilde movie. If you know who Cornell Wilde was.
I don't actually. I am not familiar.
Great actor from I don't know, 50s, 60s, whatever. But yeah, very cool.
I am sorry, I'm not familiar.
I highly suggest it.
Oh.
It's a fun movie.
What's the name of it again?
Gargoyles. And I think the head gargoyle was played by Bernie Casey.
Okay. Oh, really? No kidding. I'm familiar with Bernie Casey. A fine gentleman.
Yes.
He was best known for his role in Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know.
Very true.
I don't know if he was best known for
Lambda, lambda, lambda.
Yeah. Don't make me sing the song because I can.
Yeah. Don't.
Just saying, I can.
Unless you really want to, go ahead. You can sing whatever you want.
This is interesting because it's fairly close to home. This is in. We may have shared this story before, but I think this is apropos for this episode. This one is known simply as the St. Cloud creature.
Ah, yes. Close to home.
Yeah, close to home. About St. Cloud's 2.5 hours away from me.
And about 3.5, 4 hours from me. A nice ride. Nice drive.
Linda states here that another eloquently described report came. Now, this is under the Upright Canine Monsters chapter, okay? Or segment or section.
Okay.
Now, this report came from a state that Linda always thought should produce many more Dogman sightings, as a matter of fact. Due to the rampant wildlife, the great tracts of forest, well-watered terrain, and the nearness to the Great Lakes. I mean, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
This is the eyewitness's account. I, the eyewitness, used to work in Princeton, Minnesota. I lived in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and commuted the 40 minutes to work, taking State Highway 95 between St. Cloud and Princeton.
Mm-hmm.
In March of 2016, I hit a deer at night on the way home from work.
I've done that before.
Not fun. Not fun. So I was always more cautious and attentive when driving after that. The place where I struck the deer was the northern edge of the Sherborne National Wildlife Refuge. Consequently, I would slow down to about 45 miles per hour. Again, I'm reading all this verbatim from the witness. When I would approach the refuge and drive holding down the high beam switch, this allows me to drive with both high and low beams at the same time.
Really? You can do that? I didn't know that.
Hey, you learn something new every day on the Paranormal Zone, don't you?
Hmm.
Now, in mid-April, about 6 weeks after I struck the deer, I was passing this refuge, driving slowly, looking for deer, obviously.
Oh, it's like a video game going through some woods, like between Detroit Lakes and your place.
Oh God, yeah, that's a nasty portion of of 34.
At nighttime. Oof. Anyway, go ahead.
He says, I saw the reflection of eyes, like a deer or raccoon, near the south bank of the highway. I slowed down further, and the animal bolted out 20 feet in front of my car. It crossed the road from south to north. I wish I could tell you it was another deer, but I'm convinced that it was not. He goes on to say, whatever it was, it moved on 2 legs. Key here, 2 legs. I only saw it for a few seconds. My adrenaline was pumping, thinking I was going to hit another animal. But I can see the flashes of what I saw in front of me in my mind's eye as clear as yesterday.
He saw the 2 legs and a pair of bullocks. I said I wasn't going to say that word again. I apologize. Go ahead.
Fine. Patchy bullocks. Patchy bullocks.
Yeah.
Its forward limbs did not touch the ground. This was bipedal.
Nor did its bullocks.
Nor did its bullocks. Now Mike's going to go nuts.
Sorry. I apologize. I am just stuck. Okay, go ahead.
Just in case, I'm looking up the word bullocks right now.
Yeah, good idea.
And not like the Sex Pistols, their album title, like Nevermind the Bullocks. That's like Bullocks.
Yeah, it could be a
variation?
a form of BS meaning. And my love for my British heritage, I don't want to be wrong with this.
Mike, you're going to be very happy.
Okay.
It is a vulgar British slang term for, you guessed it, the testes, my friend. The testes. So you're muted again, though. So you
yeah, got you back there. You got me back. Okay. Yes. Okay. I'm happy.
Good. Mike's always
I would
happy.
make my grandmother proud.
Mike's ability to pull out testicular vocabulary knows no bounds. So, like we said, it was bipedal, maybe 6 or 7 feet tall, the witness claims. It was brown or a dark gray. The eyes were reflective like a deer's. Its limbs were long and robust like a man's, not spindly like a deer's. It was covered with hair or fur, accounting for the color. The shape of its face was not flat like a man's, but prognathic to the point of having a snout like a dog's.
Dogman.
Exactly. I ran across a highway and I accelerated west towards St. Cloud. Damnedest thing I ever saw. He goes on to say, I have a degree in anthropology and a minor in biology. And he teaches social studies. He's a teetotaler. He has no serious religious convictions. The point is, I am not prone to flights of fancy or wild imagination.
Well, that could be a potential road trip.
Damn, yeah, and not even
Oh, jeez.
that's nearby.
Yeah, we could do that in half a day and make it home for supper.
This Minnesota
No, we'd have to spend the night. But anyway, go ahead.
Minnesota resident with an anthropology and biology background. He's a social studies teacher. Claims he's a teetotaler. Claims he is not prone to flights of fancy. He saw this, man. He saw whatever it was, a dogman perhaps, a variation of Bigfoot somehow, but he was very specific in saying it had that snout. And it was running on 2 legs. Your thoughts, Michael Carbno?
Wow. Well, the guy that witnessed this, he failed to mention his 6 years when he was incarcerated in a mental institution.
Hey, okay, yes.
But
That was a part that I edited out. I chose not to share that. No,
I'm kidding.
No.
I just wanted to make Mr. Z happy. But anyway,
He's not listening. Are you kidding me?
but anyway, it's exciting to have something or even a story or an eyewitness account of something so close to home. And, the Dogman thing has been getting bigger and bigger, like over the recent years.
Yeah.
So is it something that, did you have a year, a date on this when it happened? I missed it if it did, but if it's something newer, and the either the legend is spreading or the Dogman itself is spreading out and covering more area, becoming more prominent, where people are going to see it more often.
Right. I'm just looking for. I thought I shared the year, but I want to find it.
I'm sure you did, but I don't listen to every word you say. I just can't.
No, it's impossible to listen to me. It's impossible to listen to me for more than 10 minutes without tuning me out. I understand.
Yeah, I automatically shut down for like 5 seconds incrementally throughout your reading. No, I'm just kidding.
Of course, I'm just struggling to try and find that because I put the book aside because I was done.
No, that's okay.
With story
That's okay.
time.
It's not important.
Well, just keep talking. Keep talking. I'll find it here.
All right. Well, there was one day that I was
Sometime.
traveling down the road and I saw a little dog and he came up to me and he wagged his tail and I petted him.
Now, are
And
you
it was-
okay,
Okay, are
mocking
you
me?
ready?
Are you mocking
got
me?
it? No, I'm talking while you're looking for it.
Just random talk. Literally,
Yeah.
he's talking random. You know what? I'm starting to panic, so I'm just flying through
Yeah,
the
so
damn
it's just going to
book.
make it harder for you to
Gonna
find.
make it harder for me to find. It was
So-
fairly recent. We'll put it that way.
Scrap it.
Damn.
Scrappy doo there, Patrick. Scrappy doo.
I like that. I like the authenticity, but the potential authenticity for that sighting.
Oh, absolutely.
Just based on the credibility of the witness.
Well, it's like the even closer location to both of us, the Vargas Trail,
Oh man, another place we should go back to. And
or Burgess Trail, I should say. isn't it?
Burgess, yeah, Burgess.
Yeah, I've been there a few times before in that area at the lake. years ago, and never heard anything about that. But yeah, definitely a potential another fun day trip.
Well, Mike, before we dive into moments of the macabre here, we'll kind of put a lid on some monster encounters here. We talked about the MATLOG, Frog Folk of Connecticut, potential Bigfoot with body art, flying heads, giant owls, reptilians, and of course a Minnesota dogman. Any of those jump out to you, Mike, as a particular favorite?
Oh, well, I think they're all fantastic. Some are more comical than the others.
Oh,
but,
yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, but I like it. I really like it. And I was going to ask you, actually, out of any one of these potential happenings, which one to you seems like it would be more likely to be real?
Well, again, I'm going back to that body art. I don't know why it's really clinging to me. I love the idea of Sasquatch / Bigfoot being intelligent enough, communicative enough with its own kind that it uses body art in any number of ways. Just like humans do. I love that idea of this potentially those red stripes.
Yeah, and is it just body decoration, or is it rank? Is it hierarchy?
Right. That's what I love about it, because we don't know.
Yeah.
And
I would have to agree with you on that, because I really, really love that. And, but again, I love the ongoing and the ever growing number of Dogman stories that are coming out.
It was either that or the St. Cloud Dogman,
right?
Because, like you said, close to home, and why not, man? Why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Mike, it's time for some more dun 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 dun. I need some macabre music for this.
Macabre.
The next time we get together, maybe I'll have some macabre intro music for this.
Yeah, like the Addams Family theme song.
Okay, sure.
No, just kidding. No. Oh, Land of the Lost.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the other night, I rewatched it's one of my favorite movies for various reasons, but I hadn't watched it for a while. It's a classic. 1975 Jack Nicholson classic, Mike. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Pure beautiment of a movie.
Is that a word? It is now.
It is to me now. First time I've ever heard it.
There's so many reasons why I love that movie, and it's always, the ending always gets me. I love the ending so much.
One huge reason I love that movie, well, huge as in tall, no pun intended, I guess, is Will Sampson.
Absolutely.
The impeccable, the wonderful, the amazing, the utterly talented and greatly missed Will Sampson.
Thank you for putting in greatly missed. Yes.
Oh, my word.
I love listening to old interviews with him. He had such a great voice. I love this voice.
Yeah, well, like in The Outlaw Josie Wales.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, of course,
it shall be life.
My youthful mind always goes, and yours does too, goes back to Poltergeist 2. I mean, what a character.
Oh, he's so wonderful in that.
He's perfect. It's perfect. I love that. I love the character. I need to watch that movie. I haven't watched that for a long time.
Yeah, I told Mary that her and I have to watch that together.
Oh, no kidding. Do that.
She's never seen any of these movies.
Well, you got to start with the first one. Got to start with the first one. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, you don't have to, but
well, it would make sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
so I was watching that.
The second one does stand on its own.
It does. 100% it does.
But the third one, don't waste your time.
Don't waste your time.
Try to look it up anywhere.
Yeah,
but
thanks.
Anyway.
So I was watching that, and spoiler alert! I know it's a new, fresh film. It's only been out 51 years or whatever, close to 50 years, I should say. But Jack Nicholson's character at the end of the movie undergoes essentially a lobotomy.
Right.
I got to think, Mike, what could be more gruesome and macabre than the alleged, here it's that effing word again, than the supposed medical reasoning behind performing lobotomies?
I know one thing that's worse and it was actually part of that movie. Worse than the lobotomy,
Yeah.
was the way that Billy Babbitt killed himself.
Oh, good golly, Miss Molly.
Played by Brad Dourif, who is
He's-
impeccable himself as
That's-
Chucky.
That's perfect. It's perfect.
You know, but yeah, what an actor. But anyway, I'm doing so much sidetracking here, but
Well, that whole movie, I'm sorry, one final thing.
Yeah.
All of the acting in that movie is superb.
Nurse Ratched, oh yes, absolutely. We should do a show just on that movie.
There
sometime.
you go. There you go. Why
But
not?
anyway,
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, Mike, we're going to talk lobotomies.
yes.
Ugh, blech. Described, I'm reading from the New Zealand Herald here. Described as the most brutal, barbaric, and infamous medical procedure of all time. An ice pick hammered through the eye socket into the brain and wriggled around,
To destroy it to the frontal lobe.
leaving the patient in a vegetative state. Now, I think in the movie, I don't think they did the ice pick through the eye socket to Jack Nicholson's character because his head has stitches on both sides.
Yeah, shaved and had like the horseshoe type.
Yep.
So they took out a little bit more, I think, than that frontal lobe or whatever it is. But how well does the puncture in the nose heal? I mean,
God.
does
No.
it scab over? You know, does it probably gets itchy after a while?
Okay, yeah. It's going to be hard enough to read through this. So,
Anyway, go ahead.
and the character of Chief, obviously, his merciful killing of Jack's character.
Yes.
That ending it always gets me. Now, the first lobotomy was performed by a Portuguese neurologist who drilled holes into the human skull. But it wasn't until an American psychiatrist adapted the procedure using an ice pick and hammer that the very word lobotomy became widely known and widely feared. One of the biggest, by the way, would you take a guess, Mike, as to how long this ice pick through the eye socket, how long that procedure usually lasted?
I bet 30 seconds it's done.
It says here 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
So it's up there and it's squiggling around,
Yeah.
destroying that brain matter for 10 minutes.
Good God.
Mm.
Says thousands of people were subjected to the 10-minute procedure. Maybe there were different variations of it, but my God.
Oof.
One of the biggest tragedies was that people were kept in the dark about the horrific consequences. Widely published before and after photos were, later on widely published before and after photos showing manic-looking person followed by a photo of the same person looking calm or even smiling. But they also failed to mention here that their eyeballs are usually swollen beyond recognition at that time.
Jack Nicholson was sitting there drooling, I believe.
He was.
Or laying there, or whatever.
Whew. It was closing in on nearly 100 years ago that one of the biggest disasters in modern medicine began. A frightening example of what happens when a revolutionary new treatment, that's in quotes, is put into practice before it is extensively tested.
Mm-hmm.
We'll look at one of the youngest patients, 12-year-old, I wrote that down earlier, 12-year-old Howard Dully became the youngest lobotomy patient on record at that time. 12 years old, subjected to a lobotomy.
And why? Why at that age? I mean, I know there's some pretty unruly 12-year-olds,
You know what,
but
Mike?
holy hell.
I read this yesterday, thinking that we were going to get this completed yesterday. It was under the orders of his mom.
Oh, how can that be?
How can that be? Because she was saying no joke. She was saying that he had trouble sleeping. He was unruly. He didn't listen. And it's like, okay, so he's a 12-year-old kid?
So this is before Ritalin came around, I guess.
God.
Is there any dates on this? Because this cannot be anything in the near,
Well, when lobotomies were most popular was in the 1930s, and they lasted up to like the 1950s, I believe.
I would imagine that they wouldn't do them today. I mean,
No, I thought they were abolished or outlawed.
they would have to be.
I could be wrong.
Well, anything that that would have been done with an ice pick then, right now could be probably easily done with certain drugs and medication. So,
well, a brief history here, as we mentioned earlier. Portuguese neurologist Antonio Moniz performed the first lobotomy in 1935 by drilling holes into a patient's skull, pouring alcohol into the frontal cortex to sever the nerves, before coring sections of the brain with hollow needles.
my word.
This procedure, referred to then as a leucotomy, sorry, I'm butchering it, leucotomy, was supposed to cure a variety of mental health issues, including depression and schizophrenia. You know, that was very common. Oh, they're nuts. Let's drill holes in their head.
Well, look at how
We're helping them.
Trepanning or trepanning, where a person actually puts holes in their skull themselves.
Good Christ.
And that I've heard that happening, or it was done, you know, however long ago, but thinking that it's gonna relieve some kind of pressure or let the evil spirits out of the body. I mean, there have been ancient skulls that have been found that have holes cut in the skull, but showing healing and regeneration, meaning that this person was alive a long time after this hole was put in his head. His or her head. But anyway, go ahead.
1949, Moniz received a Nobel Prize for his work. Since then, there have been widespread calls for this prize to be revoked, but nothing has been done to do such a thing. After the procedures, patients often appeared to be more calm. But this was likely due to the patients being in a zombie-like or vegetative state, unable to speak or think for themselves.
And they eat brains.
Oh, man alive. Now, U.S. neuropsychiatrist Walter Freeman was intrigued by Moniz's work and decided to experiment. Freeman believed that mental illness was caused by overactive emotions, and if the brain was cut up, he'd be effectively cutting away those emotions.
I'm glad mine's done medicationally.
Now, of course,
I'm happy.
Now, how would you guess he practiced? How would you guess Mr. Freeman practiced this procedure, this theory of his? Well, he practiced for a few weeks on cadavers. You know.
Well, sure, you're going to get all kinds of answers from them.
He performed
How do you feel now? Dead. How do you feel now?
Look at how calm and sleepy these are. Proof to my theory.
Yes, absolutely. It works. Eureka!
Now, Mr. Freeman performed his first frontal lobotomy in the U.S. on 63-year-old Alice Hood Hammett, a housewife from Kansas who was believed to be suffering from anxiety and depression. So let's give her a lobotomy.
Again, I'm happy for my pills.
Jesus Christ. An hour later, Freeman declared the operation a success, even though Hammett suffered a convulsion in the weeks following the surgery. Hammett died 5 years after, although she managed to spend the last years of her life away from mental institutions. So there you go. I guess that's something.
Oh, it's something. I don't know what, but it's something.
This so-called success led Freeman to come up with a new plan. He wanted to devise a lobotomy that was faster and less messy than drilling holes. So he went back to experimenting on those darn cadavers. How you guys feeling? I'm going to experiment a little bit more. Do you mind? Searching for an easy way to access the brain. You're muted, by the way, Mike. You keep muting yourself.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Freeman after practicing on cadavers, he realized he could easily reach the brain by using an ice pick, which was into the brain through the eye sockets. He named this radically invasive form of brain surgery a transorbital lobotomy, but it became more commonly known as the ice pick lobotomy. The barbaric procedure was responsible for at least 490 deaths, and thousands of people were left in vegetative states, including the sister of one John F. Kennedy and the aforementioned Howard Dully. Although Howard Dully did survive, he lived into his 50s, I believe, but he was never the same. He had a damn ice pick shoved through his eye sockets. Yeah. He was totally dehumanized for the rest of his brief life.
You know, at the time, were they
Can I-
doing this in good faith, thinking that they're actually doing something that's going to help humanity?
I don't know.
But did they have to have a sick spot in their brain to go, "Oh,
Yeah.
this might be fun"? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Sure,
it works, but look at how many people were killed by it.
You want to listen to this for a second, too? The ice pick-like instrument was inserted above the patient's eyeball. Using a hammer, the ice pick was hammered into the eggshell-thin bone above the eye, where the instrument was wriggled back and forth to sever the connections to the prefrontal cortex in the frontal lobes of the brain. It's difficult to believe that an ice pick can be hammered into the most complex part of the human body, the brain, while the instrument was moved from side to side by a man who was not even a surgeon. And as we mentioned earlier, this operation was over in around 10 minutes, and in at least a third of all cases rendered the patients compliant, docile, and mute with childlike behavior. So there you go.
And what's the rest of the percentage besides that 1/3? They're the ones that died.
I'm my brain. No pun intended. To these poor people had to go through this, but I'm like overwhelmed. I'm just grossed out by the idea of this stuff.
Well,
we'd like to think. People with any sense of humanity would like to think that this was done with well intentions, uneducated but well intended folk.
Yeah.
And when I say uneducated, I'm not saying they were dumb, but I'm saying they just didn't know the consequences because
it
hadn't been practiced. How was that for some moments of the macabre, Mike? Feeling pretty good?
Quite interesting. Yeah, a good subject matter to discuss on it because of the it's real. It actually happened. It's monstrous. And there's no. This is a legend. This is all fact. I mean,
it is. Oh, Mike. Well, on that happy note, my friend, it's time to wrap it up. Again, we're going to dive right into a Patreon exclusive episode. I believe it's exclusive episode number 72 or 73 or something. There's a lot, folks. A lot out there for your listening pleasure. You can check them all out for as little as $1.
Put on your swimming suit and grab a towel. Let's go.
Let's go, baby. Yeah, we're going to talk about some pretty cool, fascinating, intriguing Bigfoot footage, possible Bigfoot footage from 2013 Oregon. Go check us out on Patreon. Watch the link yourself and then follow along, shall you? It will be fun.
Isn't this actually too where we're going to be discussing some possible new adventures that we are going to have? I just want to tease that out.
Thank you.
Just that much.
That's all you need to say. Yeah, we have some new awesome adventures. Let's say they aren't ironed out, but the first step has begun. We're talking about some awesome ghost hunting escapades, ones that we are going to discuss a wee bit on the Patreon episode. And perhaps what, Mike? What else?
Some fantastic guests that go along with it on the show.
Some potential guests. And guess what, boys and
girls?
Who
have already agreed they would love to do this.
This final little tease, Mike and I, all I'll say, we might have to get our heavy-duty camping gear ready pretty darn soon.
Yes. And pack extra panties.
Extra paranormal panties.
Extra paranormal panties.
And our plaster. I'll leave it there.
There you go.
Awesome. Well,
awesome.
This has been great, Mike. Let's fly right into the Patreon episode while the reception is, I'm not going to say it. Until next time, I
gotta go potty first.
Okay. Until next time, what do our awesome Paranormally Zone family members need to do?
Peace out, me loves.